Are you ready?
Yep.
Yep, ready to go.
Roll out of here.
We can get this over with. This meeting of City Council will come to order. City Council opens every meeting with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Out of respect for the diversity of opinion and beliefs in our community, we will begin this evening's invocation with a moment of silence during which each person will be free to pray, contemplate, or not, as each person wishes. After this moment of silence, I'll call on Councilman Steve Corley to lead us in the invocation and then the pledge, and he will pray in accordance with his faith. If we could all stand, please, all who are able.
Let us pray. We thank you for this beautiful fall day and to live in a free country and be able to go to school and work and vote without being intimidated. We appreciate the life that you've given us here in Sumter. Pray for our 600-plus employees and the department heads and the first responders, and it provides stability and safety for our community. We pray for our president and president-elect and governor and council, county council chairman and our mayor that also provide government services that keep our communities clean and safe and businesses in operation. Be with our deliberations this evening. Give us guidance in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Everyone has received the minutes of our November 3, 2020 regular meeting. Is there a motion that they be accepted as written, or do changes need to be made?
Move for acceptance.
Mr. Carley moves and Mr. Lowry seconds that we approve the minutes as written. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And they are approved as written. Moving into old business, we do not have any ratifications of boards and commissions. You will note once again that we do have appointments that will expire on December 31, 2020. Many of these can be reappointed if that's council's wish. And Madam Clerk, you are now checking attendance records and calling to see if any would be willing to serve again. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. There's nothing we can do on these tonight. We do have some applications in the back, some new ones, I believe, and I would tell the public, anyone wishing to serve on boards and commissions can go online and find an application that can be submitted for consideration by council. We depend on these boards and commissions for many, many important functions. Next, we have final reading of ordinance number 2711, which is an annexation ordinance related to property on Broad Street. No changes on that, Mr. Corley? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Davis moves and Mr. Lowry seconds that we give final reading to ordinance 2711. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it is given second reading, final reading unanimously. Next, we have consideration of final reading of ordinance 2712, which relates to parades and processions. You will recall that we are amending the ordinance to conform to conform the ordinance to our practices. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that, that we approve, and you may have to tell me how to order this, but that we also amend the language to say city manager and police chief.
Mr. Davis moves that on second reading, we amend the ordinance as approved on first reading to add the city manager as a party who will review the parade permit. Is that adequately stated?
Yes, sir.
Is that? Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Dwyer. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the amendment is approved unanimously. Moving to the main motion, which would be final reading of ordinance 2712 as amended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Dwyer moves, Mr. Lowry seconds that we give final reading to the ordinance as amended. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the ordinance 2712 is approved as amended unanimously. Next, we have consideration of ordinance 2713, which amends and extends the expiration date of ordinance 2707, which relates to electronic meetings of council. Where's Mr. Crowe? Mr. Crowe, is there anything you need to tell us about this?
No, sir, it extends the time period to January 17th, 2021.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Crowe, or is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Merchant moves and Mr. Lowry seconds that we approve ordinance number 2713 to amend and extend the expiration date of our prior ordinance concerning electronic meetings. Is there any discussion? I would just say that I think that's a wise thing to do at this particular point with what we're hearing, but if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it is given approval unanimously and requires, I believe, Mr. Crowe, 5 votes. Is that right? It requires 5 votes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have 6, so it's... Next, we have consideration of ordinance 2714, amending and extending the expiration date of ordinance 2708 concerning peddlers. Any questions that anyone has about this? Is there a motion as to ordinance 2714?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Davis moves, Mr. Corley seconds that we approve ordinance 2714. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Having received six votes, ordinance 2714 is approved. Moving into new business, we have consideration of first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 98, dealing with utilities, Article 3, which deals with sewage, disposal and sewage in our Court of Ordinance. Mr. Harris, you want to explain that to us? I think there's a microphone right there.
Right here. Excuse me.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, you have in front of you the sewer use ordinance as we've discussed. We would like to recommend approval, first reading of the sewer user ordinance. This is to clarify and enhance the old ordinance and get us more in line with state and federal rules and regulations that we have to go by, and this gives us a little bit more teeth to be able to enforce and deal with the issues in the ordinance. We'd like to recommend, and I'll answer any questions if you have any, and we'd like to recommend first reading.
I believe this was discussed previously. I believe this was discussed previously with council, but are there any questions of Mr. Harris? Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
Move to consider first reading on the sewer use ordinance as presented.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Merchant, seconded by Mrs. Dwyer. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it's given first reading, this sewer use ordinance. Next, we have a procurement ordinance to consider on first reading, and I will just, it relates to purchasing procedures. Mr. McCormick.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, the procurement ordinance is what we have before you is considering an amendment to add to Division 2 residential building services for residential structures on city-owned property. The reason why this is there, you've got exclusions for professional services. Most everything we deal with in our procurement is for commercial structures. As you know, building a house or a caretaker's property is very different than building commercial. So commercial is very much more expensive. We've asked that we could put this in here so on any residential structures, so you would do it just like any other residential structures. You find a quality professional and then negotiate from there to the reason why this is put before you, and I think straight out of the code. It says, finds exemption in the interest of the city and its citizens. So basically in those very few cases, every once in the 5 decades or something that we actually have to build a residential structure that's maintained on city property, we need to be able to bid it like a residential structure, not a commercial structure, so we get a best product for the cheapest price. Basically, we don't want to spend more public money than we have to in those few cases we actually have to do that. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of Mr. McCormick? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move for approval of procurement ordinance as presented.
Mr. Davis moves first reading of the ordinance concerning purchasing procedures. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lowry. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it is given first reading unanimously. Moving into council reports. Does any member of council have any information to give to us for the good of the community or the council? Hoping that both are one and the same. Hearing none, city managers report.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple quick things in your packet. You have the monthly financial update. We submit those to you. Please do look over them. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to take those at your leisure, as well as a municipal association update. But I do want to say, I was speaking with the mayor earlier, and this applies to Ms. Dwyer as well. We just want to formally say thank you for the time of working with you, Ms. Dwyer. You've been with us since 2008. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate your leadership and your kindness to everyone. And we'll look for a time in the near future, hopefully a little more, better related to COVID, but hopefully in the next 2-3 months where we'll get a date where we can celebrate together and laugh and actually have some mementos and do some things for fun. But we want to say thank you. And likewise, Mayor, in 20 years, since 2000. It's been a pure pleasure to work with you and work with you and council and your leadership to make the city better. And again, we want to celebrate that. So there's going to be a time, so we'll be working with both of you for the proper date. So we'll know what it is, you'll know when it is, and then we can plan accordingly and enjoy that. Just want to say thank you to both of you.
Well,
Thank you.
I would just like to say it's been a pleasure for me to serve on Sumter City Council. And I can remember when I was a little girl and would come downtown and we'd come to City Hall and take care of business with my grandmother and whatnot. And never did I dream that I'd be sitting here. But God only knows, and I thank Him for enabling me to do it. And I have enjoyed the 12 years that I have served. And I know that Sumter will continue to grow, and the community will continue to work together, and you'll always have a council that's not only considerate of themselves, but what they can do for the city of Sumter. And I have found that people here in Sumter, this isn't my home, but I'd like to say it's my home because I've been here long enough to feel like it's my home. I was partially raised here when I was younger. But I want to give all the thanks to the Lord that He has enabled me through all that I've been going through to be able to maintain and to serve my people. And God bless each and every one of you. And if there's anything I can ever do for the city of Sumter, please don't fail to call upon me.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, there's one other thing. I think last meeting, I think may have been Dr. Corley asked us for a census update. I'm just reading this real quickly. The census officially ended October 15th. The final self-response rate for Sumter County was 62%. The official results, including the non-response follow-up, operational numbers are due to the President December 31st, and the results will be provided to the states March 31st of 2021. So that's just wanted to give a quick update there. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we come to our public comment segment. Now, it's kind of confusing when we get to this time because we have two things going on. We're going to do the public comments right now, but at 6 o'clock, we will do a public hearing, and there's a different standard for each. If you are here for the public hearing that relates to property on Broad Street, then you do not need to speak at this time. You will be given an opportunity to speak when we consider the zoning issue. Now, as far as this public comment segment, basically you must be a resident, an actual resident of the city of Sumter living within its boundaries in order to address council during this time. Normally, it's a time to address things that we have already discussed in council, to give us your input. But we usually will listen to you as long as it's relevant to the city, as long as it does not involve personalities, as long as you are courteous in your speech, even though you may be upset about something, and as long as you're not repetitive. We'll have a timer on. I believe we have that set up down here, and so you will have the time that's stated on the screen to speak. And I will just hope if anyone wants to speak, we will follow the rules. So with that, does anyone wish to address council? And if you would, we do have microphones, right? I think I see some. There's one right here, if you don't mind. I'm not sure if y'all can hear me, as a matter of fact. And as always, Mr. Watkins, give us your name and address. Boy, he drops the mic before he even says anything.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff. I have a comment that I've been making since I've been coming to the meetings since 2006. And it's two issues that I'm concerned about. Number one is the agenda in terms of coming here. We have like these ordinances, and the ordinance that would just basically give 2711 or 2712, the council have they have a packet where all the explanations are there, but the public don't get any explanation as to what the ordinances are. Just the number, 2711, 2712. So that information is left out. And basically, I've said that it's like going to someone's house and you're smelling the food and everybody's eating except you. And that's the way I feel when I come to the meetings, that I don't really get any substance from the meeting because I don't get an explanation to what is being voted on. It's just that there's an ordinance, there's a motion, there's a second, and it's approved. I get information from the newspaper. I get more information from the newspaper when it comes out than I do when I come to the meeting. And I'm not taking it personal. It's basically a policy issue. Number two is the complaint system. The staff, when there's a complaint, I know for experience, when I have a complaint, I call it in and it's addressed immediately. But it's specific to the individual complaint rather than a process where it's open. The public don't have a complaint number. There's not a central complaint process where everybody would have the number and anybody can call in and the complaint can get addressed. And I've been more or less advocating for a central complaint number where everybody would have that number, and a central complaint system where it's intaked and given out to the different agencies for a resolution. Thank you very much.
Mr. Watkins, would you state your name and your address, please? I don't think you did that.
My name is Louis Watkins, and I live on Providence Street, 117 Providence, and that's our Broad Street.
Thank you, sir. Does any other city resident wish to address council at this time? Anyone else? Hearing none, I declare the public comment segment closed, and it is now 5:55. We will stand at ease until 6 p.m., at which time we will consider we will receive information on the public hearing. We'll stand at ease. So we will come back to order. And let me just review the guidelines for a public hearing, which, as I mentioned earlier, is different than the public comment segment. Tonight, we'll have a presentation from the planning staff concerning the request that's being considered. After Ms. Rubman speaks, we will allow council members to question her if they wish. Then we'll ask the applicant, the person asking for the relief or the zoning change, if he or she wishes to address council on behalf of the request. The applicant does not have to address council unless he or she wants to. Council may, however, ask questions of the applicant. Then I will call on city residents in favor of the request to address council, and then city residents who are opposed to the request may address council. Now, if you are a city resident, that is, living in the physical limits of the city, or if you have a financial interest in the property under discussion, you may speak. Each person who meets the requirements to speak will be given an opportunity to do so. However, should anyone become repetitious, council reserves the right to call time. A decision may or may not be made at this meeting. However, any decision will be made at a public meeting. Once the public hearing is declared closed by the mayor, there will be no additional comments from the audience unless called for by council. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our planning director to present the proposal.
Good evening. Helen Rudman for planning staff. This request is RZ 2013 at 1170 Broad Street. The applicant is Interplan LLC, in particular Nancy Carreras, on behalf of Chick-fil-A Inc. This request is actually to rezone a 0.3 acre portion of the larger tract at 1170 Broad Street. This is the entirety of the parcel as you see it today. It is at the intersection of Douglas Avenue and Broad Street, as well as Broad Street and Hastings Drive. The area in question for this rezoning is actually shown in the red circle. It's a wooded portion of the lot where Chick-fil-A is already developed. As you can see in the zoning map, the Chick-fil-A proper, where the parking lot it currently is located, as well as the restaurant space, is zoned general commercial, but this portion of the property is zoned residential 15. The request is to rezone the balance of the property so that they can expand parking into this area to further support the business. Right now, R15 zoning doesn't permit the construction of a commercial parking lot. Again, as I said, it is to expand the parking lot. This is kind of a better indication you see in this graphic. The yellow area would be where that expansion would take place. This is the frontage of what you see on Broad Street today, of how the property is developed, and then this area that you see in the yellow where all the trees are located, where the arrow is, that's the portion of the property that's really the subject of this rezoning request, so that the existing parking lot that's to the north of the site can be expanded to the west. This is in the priority commercial corridor, which is a priority investment area in the 2040 comp plan. The purpose of this corridor is to encourage development in new locations while simultaneously bolstering underutilized corridors. In this particular instance, we would look at design, layout, and its impact on the adjacent uses, where we would pay special attention to landscaping and any structures that were in place to ensure compatibility. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request. We do find that the site's location at this major intersection along an established commercial corridor really does make this rezoning request to general commercial compatible. It is an incremental addition to an existing commercially developed tract. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Ms. Rubin? Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the applicant? If so, please come forward and give us your name and address. Anyone on behalf of the applicant? Okay, is there any?
This gentleman in the back with his hand.
would you please, if you're with the applicant, you are, okay. Okay, is there any city resident who meets our requirements for speaking who wishes to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak against this? Anyone opposed? If you would come forward, please, sir. Give us your name and address.
How y'all doing? I'm Terry Bass. My mother, she passed away several months ago. She owns a house, if you pull the map up, it's right next door to Chick-fil-A right there where the privacy fence is, 1256 Hastings Drive. So I just, yeah, if you look at the other picture, it shows it better, but anyway. I just want to make sure about what's going up behind that property. You're saying it's going to be a parking lot. If that's the case, does that rezone that whole area right there for commercial or what? I'm just asking for clarification, sorry.
Would you like me to answer that, sir?
Yes, ma'am, if you can quickly.
Mr. Bass, if you look at this graphic, the area that is actually yellow on the screen, that's the only piece of property that would be rezoned by this request. And all commercial landscaping and buffering requirements under the city code would apply to any parking lots that would be developed on that parcel.
Okay, I would like to, I guess, further information, I guess, once you know exactly how y'all gonna do the parking lot or whatever, if it's not gonna affect that property right there. If there's, how you doing? But anyway, that's, right now, I guess I'm opposed to it because I don't know exactly. I just know a parking lot, but I don't know if it's gonna have the lights there and everything to where it might shine over to the house, where it might be too bright, that's what I'm saying. I know you're saying parking lot, but I just don't know if it's gonna be like.
Ms. Rubin afterwards maybe could explain to you you could maybe explain to him what the protections are for, not now, but after the meeting perhaps.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Bass, I believe we have some preliminary plans in the office that were what spurred this rezoning request. We're happy to meet with you tomorrow morning to kind of go over what we have and what our comments are back to them.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because, if it's going to be a parking lot, then I'm assuming, lights and not knowing what kind of lights might be to where it may light up the backyard like,
Okay.
like a spotlight. You know what I mean? I'm just
Yes.
trying to make sure it's not going to be like, I got like a big
And
neon flare.
I don't know whether council will take any action on this tonight or not, but if they do, it will be first reading, and there will have to be another reading at the next meeting of council. So
Okay.
you could talk to council members in the meantime, or with the people at Chick-fil-A. I don't know if
Okay.
any of them are here tonight or not. If they are, you may want to speak with them about that as well, but
I don't know.
there are protections in the ordinance that deal with the light and what can be done and the type of landscaping and all that sort of thing. So
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
find those out either from Ms. Rubin, or you can find out what Chick-fil-A plans by talking to them, I believe.
Okay.
And we're very sorry for your loss.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak against? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Does council wish to take any action?
I move to consider first reading of RZ-20-13 as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's made by Mr. Merchant and seconded by Mr. Lowry. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it is given first reading unanimously. I believe that we have completed our agenda. I'm sure at least one of us wants to get out of here pretty quick. And let me just say that, very briefly, I am so thankful to live in a city like Sumter, South Carolina. I'm so thankful to have a council and council members like I have had during my 20 years as mayor. I think we've done good things. Ms. Dwyer, you brought a lot of experience with 12 years on the school board and then served 12 years with the city council. And I thank you personally for your service. You've been a friend and a great advantage for our community.
Thank you.
We have a staff, I believe, that is as good as any. And to me, their only shortcoming is that we put too many things on them. But they continue to perform at a high level and at a level that you would expect out of a city much larger than ours. So thank you. Most of all, because in my belief, what makes it all work are citizens and citizens who are taxpayers, because none of this can happen. You know, I've been the mayor for 20 years, but nothing I've ever done was just because of me, because I got to have these folks' support before anything happens. But even before that, if it isn't for citizens who have pride in their community, we don't accomplish anything. And so I want to thank all of the voters, citizens, taxpayers of Sumter. It's been my great honor and privilege to serve my hometown as mayor, and I thank you. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Dwyer moves. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And for the last time, we're adjourned. Thank you.